My own impression is that students typically do the LLM if they wish to develop a particular specialism in an area. After all, the undergraduate law degree in most countries has to be pretty broadly based. So one incentive is specialization. Another incentive is to try and sort of, as it were, break out of your domestic market. And if you want to practice internationally, that's another reason why people do the LLM. And also, let's face it, use the LLM as a means of making connections amongst the student body and more broadly for their career. I think also at least a substantial body of students who are very passionate about law as a subject want to take the opportunity of the LLM to do advanced thinking, and also which they can choose to do research, to write a dissertation and the like in the course of the degree.
Hello everyone, welcome to Cambridge from the Inside. We're here with a new guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi Siam. I'm Campbell McLachlan. I'm a Fellow of Trinity Hall in Law and Professor of International Dispute Resolution in the Law Faculty. Originally from New Zealand, but I've had half my career here in the UK and half at home.
Nice, that sounds really cool. And we're here to talk about the Master's Law course that we offer at Cambridge, the LLM course, and to talk about Trinity Hall's relationship with law, why Trinity Hall you might want to come to study here for law. So just briefly, for anyone who doesn't know, can you explain what the LLM course is?
Sure. So the LLM, the Law Master's course, is a fabulous postgraduate degree, one-year degree. Students come from all over the world to study for it. Of course, it's very competitive entry, but the result is we get this really interesting group of students from all corners of the globe. Typically, they will have already completed their undergraduate studies at home, maybe even worked for a year or two, and then they want to hone their skills in a particular area. So you've got a choice of about 40 papers to study within the program. The Cambridge Law Faculty is the largest in the country and has, of course, many great scholars in different fields. So that's a very wide choice of papers, particular specialisms in a group of papers in commercial law, and another famous specialism in this university, which I'm also very passionate about, is in international law, where you've got a whole group of papers and you can elect, if you wish to specialize in one of those two areas.
Nice. So if I'm right in understanding, someone can go into practice into law straight after their undergraduate degree. What opportunities and advantages does doing an LLM course bring to a student?
I think, students can speak for themselves, but my own impression is that students typically do the LLM if they wish to develop a particular specialism in an area. After all, the undergraduate law degree in most countries has to be pretty broadly based. So one incentive is specialization. Another incentive is to try and sort of, as it were, break out of your domestic market. And if you want to practice internationally, that's another reason why people do the LLM. And also, let's face it, use the LLM as a means of making connections amongst the student body and more broadly for their career. I think also at least a substantial body of students who are very passionate about law as a subject want to take the opportunity of the LLM to do advanced thinking, and also which they can choose to do research, to write a dissertation and the like in the course of the degree.
Nice. And am I right in thinking that by doing an LLM course, students still have the opportunity to go into academia instead of going into practice?
Sure. And there's a substantial cohort within the overall group that are probably looking at the LLM as a stepping stone, between their undergraduate degree and then possibly going on to do a PhD afterwards. So if I look at the two courses that I currently coordinate on the program, I've got a rather large course, which seems to be very popular with students, on international dispute resolution. That's an interesting program, of course, because it brings together students that have primarily a commercial focus with those students who are more interested in international law. They say that's the one course where they're all sitting together in the same room. And so quite a lot of those students are looking to go into practice in the field of international arbitration. But there's also an important group who are interested more in specializing in public international law. They want to study the practice and procedure of the International Court of Justice and other international courts and tribunals. And then the smaller course that I happen to teach, which is sort of an advanced analytical course, it's called International Law as a Legal System. That particularly attracts students who are envisioning either careers in public international law in an international organization or perhaps for a foreign office, or who want to do advanced research in that area.
Nice. So for those who've already applied to study LLM, but they haven't chosen a college yet, what things does Trinity Hall offer for those who are trying to choose a college?
Well, the first and foremost thing that I would like to emphasize here is that in many ways, Trinity Hall is the quintessential law college. Now, why do I say that? Well, part of the reason is historic. This college was established 675 years ago in 1350 solely for the teaching of law. And that's all it did for pretty much 500 years, is it taught law. And if you look at the character of the founder of the college, he was a bishop in the 14th century, but actually he was the 14th century equivalent of an international lawyer and a diplomat. He was out there sitting on the papal court in Avignon, negotiating truces in the 100 Years' War, which you can consult in the old library at Trinity Hall if you wish to do so. And so his motivation was to really encourage a new group of students who would really specialize in law. Bateman himself had got a doctorate in civil law, and that was the main degree which this college provided throughout that period. And the result of that is that for many centuries, this college was a really highly specialized college, feeding or encouraging advanced study in law. Of course, in the Middle Ages and following, that was primarily the civil law and also canon, until the Reformation, canon law. But over time, it broadened into including the English common law as well. Of course, the college now teaches all disciplines, which is fantastic. It makes it a great, vibrant community. But we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that this was and still is quintessentially a college which is all about the teaching of law. The result of that is that it has this incredible history of famous lawyers throughout the centuries. You can see them hanging on the walls of the college if you like. But also, it's got a really vibrant alumni community of lawyers and judges who did their training here originally and then went out into practice, both in London, but not only in London, also all around the UK and globally. So when you join Trinity Hall, you're joining a real community of lawyers. And then within the fellowship, we have 5 law fellows, and many of those are engaged with teaching on the LLM and its sister course, the Master in Commercial Law, and across all the different main fields of law, commercial and private, public, and then international. Through the college, the smaller college community, you can really get to know both other students, the alumni, and also the people who are going to be actually teaching you in the faculty.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like a very exciting part of history that students can be a part of if they were to study law here. So am I right in thinking that even in the recent past that there are a lot of alumni who studied law here and who've gone on to become successful lawyers?
Absolutely. And I've had the opportunity since joining the fellowship myself to begin to connect with some of those people, partly because we've had this great event here this year celebrating the 675th anniversary of the college. So we had a number of events connecting with law alumni, talking about the legal history of the college. But you could see it in the room because hundreds of very successful practitioners all packed in to celebrate the law contribution of Trinity Hall, but also at a smaller scale through the Trinity Hall Student Law Society that offers an opportunity to meet alumni in a smaller group through dinners and drinks and the like, as well as through outreach from law firms and chambers who are keen to meet students. So, there are lots of ways of connecting with that community. And the constant thing, of course, that one encounters in talking to law alumni is their considerable sense of pride in being an alumnus of the college, and their dedication to maintaining that connection through what's always very successful careers, but often quite diverse career paths. Not commercial law practice for sure, but also criminal law. We had a wonderful alumna who came and spoke to the Law Society a year ago, who runs a human rights NGO. So very diverse experiences.
Nice. And just for anyone who doesn't know, am I right in thinking that at the postgraduate level, the teaching isn't any different between all of the colleges?
So fundamentally, that's right, because the LLM is a program that's offered by the faculty. And so the teaching is done at faculty level through lectures and seminars, and also smaller group workshops, which all the courses also offer. So the college connection on the teaching is really about having a director of studies.
Yeah.
I am the director of studies for the LLM here in the college. And so that's an opportunity to get together with students a couple of times a term to discuss their proposed course of study, talk to them about how they're going, any issues which they're encountering in the course of doing their work. So you have that connection, and then as it were, you have all these other maybe less formal but somehow just as important connections through the law members of the college, both the fellows and the students.
Nice. So alongside the history of the college and the alumni community, other things that postgraduates are thinking about when they're choosing their college is the accommodation that the college provides. Can you share us a bit about what the postgraduate accommodation looks like for Trinity Hall?
Yes, well, of course, I haven't directly experienced it, but I can say, firstly, I think the two great things about Trinity Hall are being an ancient college. The central site, as it's called, the original site of the college, is very beautiful and very central. And I feel that in itself is a real advantage for LLM students who are only here, after all, for at most a year, to have a place where they can feel as though they're right in the heart of Cambridge, and what I can attest to is very, very good food and very nice environment here. The majority of student accommodation is not on this, for postgraduates, is not on the central site, but the college has a very beautiful site, which is only about 5 to 7 minutes bike ride from the central site, just across the other side of the River Cam at Wychfield, with very beautiful, well-appointed student rooms and lots of recreational facilities right on site. It's got a gym, cricket and football pitch, exercise area, tennis, all that stuff is there. And also, Whitfield is particularly close to the law faculty, the law faculty being on Sidgwick site, also on the western side of Cambridge. So you end up as a lawyer, I think, studying here with a sort of triangular axis between Whitfield, the law faculty, and Central Site, and that's a nice mix, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. Both amongst the undergraduates and the postgraduates, the students really enjoy living at Whitfield, and as you said, a lot of the departments are on the west side of Cambridge, so they're close to their departments, but it's also quite nice to come into the centre for their meals and have the option to do both. It's also really good if anyone who's into sports, the sports centre is right on the west side of Cambridge, which Whitfield is a lot closer to.
I can also do a shout out because I have had personal experience of this for the boat club, which is fantastic and extremely. It has the best position on the River Cam, fantastic facilities, a great college boatman, and so if that's what you're interested in, you would have a full opportunity to participate in the rowing activities of the club. But equally, this college has wonderful cultural offering with an excellent director of music, with a flourishing student choir for the college, beautiful music facilities on the central site. So really, whatever you're into to complement your studies, you'll find it at Trinity Hall.
Yes, and for anyone who wants to have a look through the college but might not be able to visit, on our college website, we have a virtual tour where you're able to look through the college. It's set up in a similar way to Google Maps is, which is a really good opportunity to see what the grounds are like if you aren't able to visit beforehand. And so lastly, what we have here is what kind of things have previous Trinity Hall LLM graduates have gone on to do?
Yeah, so I can only give you kind of anecdotal stories of this. Some LLM students come with a lot of support from their home countries, maybe from the government or a law firm. And so for them, this is an opportunity for them to kind of pole vault a little bit further up in their careers by having obtained the specialized knowledge which they can get here. I saw that very much in evidence last year with some of the students who were going back, having earned specialized knowledge in commercial law, but also we had a judge who came from a country where she was already sitting as a judge, and to get more specialized knowledge in criminal law. But then there are also students who pivot from the LLM into some form of international practice. The area that I'm most familiar with is in international arbitration, but there are other students who are very much interested in specializing in international commercial work. So, of course, there's no assurance of any of this, but one thing you can be assured of is that a Cambridge LLM is always going to be a very good calling card for your career.
Nice. Oh, that's a really good comment to end it on. Thank you so much, Campbell, for a really interesting podcast on the LLM course. I'm sure a lot of students who've either already applied or thinking about doing a law master's will find this really helpful. And thank you for the viewers for watching. If you have any other suggestions of other podcasts that you would like to see, please put them in the comments, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Siam.
Nice, thank you. Oh, how was that?
You tell me.
It was really good. I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Really good. Yeah, the podcast in particular is
Very popular format.
Yeah, and I'm a big football fan, and a lot of ex-footballers have their own podcasts now, and because they're both creating journalism, but because they were ex-footballers themselves, they speak about it with a lot of authority. And I just watch their podcast weekly, which has is actually kind of the basis of this podcast, which
Okay.
yeah, you wouldn't think that this was inspired by footballers.
No. But what are they talking about? Anything?
I mean, like, so going over the weekly matches as like
Right.
as match of the day, but then when they kind of have criticisms,
Yeah.
they would naturally reflect on their experiences as a footballer and then kind of give their opinion that's based on like kind of what they would do. And some of these footballers like were very good in their careers, like Roy Keane, who
Sure.
who's always like very interesting to listen to. So I think it's quite it gives a different experience compared to listening to a journalist who's, I don't know, never played football, I guess, in that sense. And